Hey guys, Kian here, and this is a quick video on how to use my latest tool. So I kind of have tiles working, and I guess the easiest one to do is to look at stage 3 and then go to tile type 21, and here we have the Flutter. So this video is probably going to be full of excuses, and hopefully I can at least explain why things are the way they are. So when the game gives you, the reason the textures are so messed up is the game doesn't have textures like a lot of later um, consoles. So like the Dreamcast will have like a texture ID, and you can look up the texture ID or the texture name and be pretty confident with the texture that you're linking the model to. With PlayStation, the PlayStation has a texture has a frame buffer, and so what the texture and palette give you is they give you coordinates to the frame buffer, and so you kind of have to do your best guess by looking at the numbers and looking at what's in there to try and link the correct um, textures and palette to the actual model itself. So the best way to probably do it would be to take a scene, or would be to load the scene into the PlayStation or into an emulator, dump the memory, and then you could get a very specific representation of what the state of the emulator or the state of the machine is at that time to get the right coordinates. I'm looking up from files, so I kind of have to do a best guess and say, hey, this is what the frame buffer is for the palette, this is what the coordinates are for the image, and then try to find palettes and images that are going to link up with that. So in this case, so what I kind of did is you have to do it manually. So in this case, stage 3, we can find, this is a Flutter, we see the Flutter tracks here. Stage 3, we can look it up here, and bam, we've corrected the texture and the palette for this. So we have the Flutter. All right, now we can kind of move on. Since we're in stage 3, we can kind of look in and infer that we want stage 3 for something. That's not correct. This is also not correct. This looks correct, and then we can find the correct, bam. Okay, so that's the Flutter here, and then the palette, that looks like the Flutter, and then we can kind of catch it, and then it should be the same texture. It's the same texture, and then the reason that they swap out palettes is this gives you the correct green on the bottom where this has red on the bottom, and so that's why they use a different texture. For the Flutter, there also seems to be this weird quad over here that goes into the ground. I have no idea why that's there. Most of the texture, I'm pretty confident with the way I'm reading the actual geometry here. There could still be problems, but it's good enough for now. It's fine. So yeah, so that's that. The other kind of weird thing for these is the way the game handles the textures. So I think, or handles the tiles themselves. I've been kind of looking into the way the game reads tiles, and it basically gives you a table and it gives you a bunch of indices. But the way the game handles the indices are kind of weird. So I mean, this is the front of the Flutter, and then these are the two sides of the Flutter, which you have respectively. And I guess these are, each tile in the game is about 256 by 256, but there's actually 4 tiles worth of stuff in here. So it seems there's this weird game. There's this weird trick that the game plays, where the tiles are not specifically set by their position in the grid. There seems to be some other kind of trickery and shenanigans going on that kind of makes it that makes it really difficult to try and guess where the game wants specific tiles or entities to be at any given point. So at this point, all I have is you can look up each texture individually. You can look up and then fix the textures manually, and then you can download them if you need to or want to. But that's it. Hopefully it's incomplete or wonky state right now should at least be to use to use a famous mighty number 9 quote is better than nothing. Oh god, I didn't want it to go there. Oh god. Yeah, I guess that's all I can say. At least it's better than nothing. Um, okay, I shouldn't be laughing at that. I just, oh god, word. I'm not laughing. It's just words and phrases that you shouldn't use. So at least you should be able to view um, tiles and um, let's see if we can fix this. ST05. So that's for the tablet character, ST05 here. And then one for the door, ST05, that looks fine. ST05, 0005, there we go. So hopefully this at least gives more the community access to some of the tiles and can at least place them together and play around with them. Then if I or someone or anyone ever figures out how to get the tiles placed into the grid or an actual absolute state, then I think that would be really cool to be able to regenerate some of the stages and maps. Otherwise, at least, like I said, at least there's this, it and if you're dedicated enough, you can put the pieces together. That's it. I hope you guys enjoy this this tool. I hope it benefits someone. And the way I have it set is when you import files, it'll import and try to use whatever you import into the database. And a quick thing, if you go to storage and you go to IndexedDB and you go to MMM1 PSX, and if you delete this, no files will appear. So if you need to reset what tile, if you want to try importing different stuff from different versions of the game, you can go to that part, delete the database, re-import the files, and then the viewer will use whatever is available to it to try and parse it. So that's everything for now, and Kian out.